The first automobile was available in the United States in 1893. The Duryea Motor Wagon Company was founded in 1896, and it didn't take long for them to start racing. The United States' first organized race was the Chicago Times-Herald race, a 54-mile race on Thanksgiving Day, the 28th of November, 1895, from Chicago to Evanston. The winner, Frank Duryea, completed the race in just over 10 hours, taking home a $5,000 grand prize. That equates to just under $200,000 today. Not a bad payday if I say so myself. This is what would grow into regulated organizations like INDY, IMSA, and NASCAR. American auto sports are equally entertaining as the stories that built them. NASCAR may have the best story of them all. This is where the good old boys came from. Running illegal liquor from the law in modified vehicles, these vehicles appeared stock, avoiding unwanted attention. This is credited for the term stock car. Once Prohibition ended, they were left with heavily modified cars. So the only logical thing to do is race them. A lot of the pioneers of NASCAR would unknowingly be the foundations of dynasties that would live in the upper echelons of the sport. Names like Earnhardt, Allison, Petty, to name a few. These names would live on through decades of greatness. One of those names you saw in a car earlier in the film, Dale Earnhardt, was from one of those dynasties. He is also considered one of the best drivers to ever hold the wheel. On the 18th of February, 2001, on NASCAR's most hallowed grounds, Daytona International Speedway, Dale died. His son, Dale Jr., racing just one place ahead, in second, following Dad's plan to finish the race, with the team locking out the podium.
Come on! To the flag.
Come on, Mikey, you got it, man. You got it. You got it. You got it.
I want to be a race car driver someday. It's a great sport. I love it to death. It's all I've ever known. Racing.
Dale hit the wall at 160 miles an hour on the last turn of the last lap. Dale was known as the Intimidator, a tough man and a tougher driver. He wore an open-face helmet and had no problem putting both of you into the wall. So when the now mandatory hands device was offered to him, he declined. NASCAR has done a good job learning from the past. The cars today are far more advanced than just a couple of years ago. The sport, however, will always be dangerous by nature. The first IndyCar race was held in 1909 in Portland, Oregon. Indy is America's premier open-wheel racing that hosts some of the fastest machines on earth. Names like Louis Meyer, the first three-time Indy 500 winner, A.J. Foyt, Ray Harroun, the first Indy 500 winner. These cars would cement themselves as some of the fastest machines on this planet, driven by some of the most talented drivers the world had to offer. Indy is all about speed. Indy cars reach speeds over 240 miles an hour. With speeds like these comes risk. This is a common denominator within motorsports. 13 IndyCar drivers have realized that risk, and every driver understands that risk when they put the helmet on. The Indianapolis 500, known as the greatest spectacle in racing, is a 500-mile high-speed battle at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Drivers push the limits of man and machine, chasing glory in front of over 300,000 fans in one of motorsport's most iconic events. With that challenge, IndyCar attracts some of the biggest names in the automotive industry, all there to be the fastest one. I guess having one of the most famous races in the world might have something to do with it, too. The first Indianapolis 500 was held on May 30th, 1911. As racing fans in a whole, we owe a lot of credit to Carl G. Fisher, James Allison, Arthur Newby, and Frank Wheeler, the original founders of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 1909. I wonder if they knew then they were creating one of the most iconic racing venues in the world. Today, we have talent in the sport that has given us superstars and future legends. Drivers like Alex Palou, Joseph Newgarden, and Pato O'Ward. These drivers have placed themselves at the top of the sport with legends before them like Mario Andretti. Mario Andretti made the leap across to Formula One and won the '78 World Drivers' Championship, the only other American to ever do so aside from Phil Hill in '61. Andretti and Hill weren't the only heavy hitters that hailed from these borders.
My name's Carroll Shelby, and performance is my business.
The legend says Enzo Ferrari personally offended Henry Ford II. This, in turn, enraged Henry Ford. Ford then set out to destroy old man Ferrari at his own game, Le Mans. Ferrari dominated Le Mans in the 1960s, winning every year from 1960 to 1965. Ford placed the task of finding someone to build the fastest race car they could to Lee Iacocca, a name in his own right. Lee enlisted automotive genius Carroll Shelby. Shelby had been making some of the fastest race cars around out of the ACAs. Carroll and his driver Ken Miles would go to build and design the Ford GT 4040 for 40 inches from the ground. A clear message referring to the Le Mans regulations. Ford first took the GT40 to Le Mans in 1964. They would not find victory until 1966. With Ken Miles leading the race, Bruce McLaren and Chris Amon behind, Ford finished first, second, and third. Bruce McLaren and Chris Amon were declared the winners in what became a very controversial decision when it was learned that Ken Miles was told to slow down and wait for the other two drivers. Ford wanted the photo finish of all three Fords crossing the line, not Ken Miles too far ahead to see the other cars. Carroll Shelby went on to work with Ford for decades, tuning their performance models and creating some of the most recognizable cars in the world. Ken Miles would end up being killed behind the wheel of the car that he helped design in 1966. Not unlike his win that wasn't, Ken's death was shrouded in controversy. And apparently, alternate theories. In our endeavor of speed, we have reached out far and wide and planted our feet in the most prolific racing divisions in the world. The Ford Cosworth RS entered Rallycross and was a force for years. It is considered one of the greatest cars ever made by car enthusiasts. The tuning from Cosworth made this car a raw, power-packed monster that required skills and luck. In 2023, NASCAR decided to enter the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Hendrick Motorsports entered a modified next-gen Chevrolet Camaro. The organizers and other teams were concerned that the car would be too slow and ultimately be a hazard on the track. What ultimately happened is the car was faster than the entire GT3 field, past prototypes, and chased hypercars.
The Garage 56 car, driven by Jenson Button, Jimmy Johnson, and Mike Rockenfeller, silenced a lot of skeptics. But more importantly, it proved itself and entertained. The commentators were begging the production room to show more of it. Not only did the car impress on the track, the pit crew had something to say too. The NASCAR pit crew won the fastest pit stop challenge with a hand pump floor jack, which is particularly impressive given the auto jack systems on the other cars. They look like this. American-grown auto sports teams are beginning to stretch their legs. Cadillac is attacking every track possible. They've made an absolute monster of a hypercar.
Or the heritage of Corvette racing, which has given us some of the best-looking race cars on the track and shown the car's capabilities.
Corvette racing has been in GT3 racing for decades, always bringing pure American muscle. And today, Corvette has changed the entire game. You see our cars all over the world. Australia, in my opinion, really knows how to do it. With that said, Cadillac is going full commitment to Formula One, and Ford is providing engines to one of the most dominant F1 team in recent history. To top it all off, Ford and Corvette have given us a taste into the future. All I can say is that it's a great time to be a car enthusiast.